Hello, everyone. I'm Ernie Berrigan from Fairwayequityservices. When I first started the mortgage industry over 40 years ago, life seemed much simpler. Today, there's so much economic and other pressures to get ahead that for many, violating the rules seems like a good thing to do, but it isn't. Mortgage fraud is a big problem today, and state and federal authorities make enforcement of the mortgage regulations a top priority. So here's three big problems, big issues not to mess around with. One, the mortgage application itself. Number two, the primary residence falsification issue. And thirdly, income documentation falsification. The first point, the mortgage application itself. At one point, the basic mortgage application, the 1003 as we call it, was just 2 pages. That was it, 2 pages. Today, it's at least 9 pages, and there's supplemental forms that are viewed as part of the application itself. That's a 450% increase. Why? There's additional federal reporting requirements, increased regulations, and the constant desire from lenders for more and more information from borrowers. But another contributing factor is the high amount of mortgage fraud and the upsurge of criminal activity around mortgages and real estate. So it's critical to understand that the Universal Residential Mortgage Application, or 1003, is a legal document. And once it's signed and provided to a lender or loan originator, the borrower is declaring that the facts presented within that form are true, and they're true to the best of the borrower's information and knowledge. If for some reason a section is deliberately falsified, then that borrower is subject to possible prosecution for perjury, for fraud, and other federal and state crimes. Second point, one of the most common issues in this regard is the intended occupancy section of the application. If you say that the subject property home is going to be owner-occupied, or the borrower's primary residence, then it must be so. That property can't be used as a rental, an investment property, an office for business, etc. for at least 12 months. The reason for this is simple. Rentals go into default and foreclosure very much more often than occupied primary residences do, than owner-occupied residences do. Therefore, primary residential loans are far less risky than rentals, and thus the fees and costs are always lower than they would be if it was a rental. So the temptation to lie, to misrepresent, to falsify the usage of the subject property is always there. Yes, a borrower can save a few dollars at a slightly lower rate, and thus save a bit of money on the monthly payment if he says that a primary residence, that property is a primary residence when it isn't. But to do that is a crime, and it can cause the borrower and their agents a ton of grief. Don't do it. It's just not worth it. Third point, income verification documentation. Years ago, I remember getting a tax return mailed to me by a tax professional for a borrower. This 1040 tax return for this customer was completely bogus. Yes, there was a business, but the given address didn't exist. The numbers on the Schedule C, the profit and loss form, within that 1040 didn't add up, and so on. This tax return looked pretty. It looked professional, but was as phony as a $2 bill. This kind of mortgage fraud and other kinds of mortgage fraud comes in many shapes and sizes. This false pay stubs, jobs that never existed, phony employers who are willing to sign phony verification employments, rent income that is not real or that never happened, and so on. Please remember that job history and income can be verified by third party and other sources. There's direct verification of employments. There's the 4506 form that comes directly from the IRS to lenders, and so forth. Last point. There are many other issues related to mortgage fraud. These include using straw buyers, lying about assets, lying about the source of the funds to purchase a property. These are just to name a few. We've just scratched the surface of this mortgage fraud topic, but I think you can see that there's many questions that may come up. Feel free to ask us and we'll try to answer them to the best of our ability. We at Fairway Equity Services have the expertise, the years of experience, and the multitude of programs needed to help you, your friends, your relatives, and your business associates qualify for a loan the right way without doing something that they will regret for years. As always, please feel free to reach out to us when needed. This is Ernie Berrigan at Fairway Equity Services, and we thank you for listening.